unable to solve them. So as soon as a certain amount of data has built up in their system, all of the sound starts distorting, the system cannot cope. What we're going to do very quickly, while the data is still low at my end, is without further ado announce the CAT Awards for the Disability Film Festival, and then I will be able to hand over to the West Midlands and simply engineer, and we'll all keep our fingers crossed that the problem doesn't infect them because it's already spread to our other guests. Right. This is the second year of our CAT Awards, introduced in memory of the artist Catherine Aronello. The criteria is strong storytelling, highlighting the lived experiences of deaf and disabled people from diverse backgrounds and relevant to the theme of making history. Best First Film, Steph Castellet, Living in Fear. Captures and makes visible the experiences of large numbers of disabled people in March 2020 through the story of one family. Best Animation, Jem Clancy for Lights, Camera, Action. A beautiful hand-drawn work that everyone who has been empowered by their imagination since March can relate to. Best Dance Film, Danny Smith for Flashback. We were impressed by the depth of the biographical choreography from this maturing artist, as well as by the way in which imagery and film language was able to enhance the choreography. Danny used the practical constraints of COVID-19 to extend rather than restrict his creativity by moving from the studio to the natural outdoors at a time when many people are taking solace in nature, if only virtually. Best Drama, Velton J. Lishka for Clouds. The acting, directing, and cinematography are of a high standard throughout, making for a gripping viewing experience. The film subtly highlights how ADHD, usually invisible in cultural representations of disability, can impact on families and how diagnoses can empower and facilitate change. Best Documentary, Stephen Ungerleider, not sure I pronounced that right, and David Ulick, Positive All the Way. A well-made documentary which reveals the story behind the fundamental changes to the ways in which the Paralympics have been delivered and received in the 21st century, a story that begins in the century beforehand. Best Accessible Film, Sign Dance Collective International for The Time Project. While other filmmakers included captions and audio description, we loved the live audio description from Sign Dance Collective, by the way. They went much further. While other people might have run workshops this year over Zoom, Sign Dance Collective invited contributions to their artistic output, which were not simply shown alongside the company's work, but they were worked on by company members to become part of the company's work. Best Film in a Language Other Than English, Sahira Khan, we're very pleased about that, for Faith. Faith was well conceived and challenging, with a subject matter that was subtly handled. The staging and camera work was excellent. Overall, Faith left the viewer with a desire to see the next chapter. And finally, Lifetime Achievement. We weren't sure to start with if we could award this, but we were unanimous in giving it to Justin Edgar. The Reasonable Adjustment exhibition shows Justin reaching a new level as he returns to fine art for his new photographic and film-based work, but his CV was already incredibly impressive. And I won't dive into Wikipedia just because of using up my data allowance before the software all packs up again. But I do encourage you to look up Justin Edgar on Wikipedia and IMDb for yourselves. We had the strongest field ever. Every single film that went in made the shortlist. In fact, that was almost the criteria for the final programming, because the films were very, very strong. I thought about doing a runner-up category, and then we realised that the runner-up category covered just about everybody in that category. It really was, because Robin was in line for you were certainly on the list for best first film and best documentary, but it was just, we had to, as indeed last year, but I think even more so this year, we had to just look for that extra something that made that finally made a film stand out. Yeah, I might as well share most of the rest of my data allowance by saying we've never seen so many films by and starring young people. There's always been a lot of film students around, but they haven't been disabled students. And if they have been, nobody has thought disability was a legitimate subject. So that seemed to me to be a radical change. I'd also like to thank Mariah Carey of Little Wing Film Festival, which is a first film festival. We hooked up with them last year. She had a disability program. And I think one issue is filmmakers have to go, there's festivals we can enter. So if Little Wing wasn't making a point of having disability programming, then I don't think there'd be that same awareness that this is a legit, yes, that people can feel, I can talk about being dyslexic, dyspraxic, deaf, I have autism, whatever it is, these young people are out. We also had a lot of films, well, where people of colour were visible in front of the camera, because we don't do a survey of who the filmmakers are. We've been focusing on issues around women and issues around disabled people. And I have to say, as a curator, that just makes me think other people aren't bothering, because we had superb films in every category, including lots of fantastic films with young people of colour. So that was a massive change, and an incredibly welcome change since 2012. Were there, I know, Judy, because you were looking after the dogs as usual, but whereas you're usually at the back of the town hall with them, you were actually downstairs and you couldn't use up any data because we needed all the data we'd got up here. But did you have, in terms of the live events, the Thursday and Friday and so on, how did you think the festival went?
I thought it was excellent. I liked the range of live events. I still do, sort of like I'm looking forward to what's on this week. But I think it's been very interesting to hear people talking in quite a relaxed way. I think much more relaxed than when we've had it at the in the open in our usual venues. Generally, people have appeared to be much more relaxed. I thought it was lovely to hear from Justin, and to hear the details of his filming and his thinking that went behind it. And as a documenter, I always appreciate that. And similarly with my own discussion with Vicky and Mandy, I really got a lot out of that, to actually be able to unpick the process of making the film itself, how that happened. As Josh quite rightly said, I think, being able to do it with bits of string and brown paper is amazing. That's figuratively, of course, but it's not using flash setups. It's actually using what's available to us, and I think for Together, that is so much within the philosophy of how we worked.
Absolutely. I think the other thing that I liked, in terms of why it was almost the same, was we still had international participants, and in a way we had more, because previously people have had to travel, and they have done. There was a very, very disappointed group of Finns who I did explain to them when they were booking their tickets in July that there was no question it was going to be possible to do a physical festival. And at that point, they just didn't believe me, but they were sending messages saying, oh, this year it's like we're flies on the wall. And I thought, how lovely, we're all flies on the wall this year. But we had somebody popping in regularly from Canada who's part of the community of disabled artists we've worked with over in Montreal. We had one of the Italian filmmakers, again from Italy, came to practically every live session and practically every screening. And of course, with Sign Dance Collective, there we were with the audio describer in the Bronx, the technician in London, and the overall presenter in Croatia. So, you know, we don't set out on our tiny budget to have the overall 5-week festival as an international festival. If we have an international element, that's great, but you know, we kind of leave the international focus to Dada Fest. But the film festival has always been international, so it would have been a shame if we hadn't been able to have the filmmakers present. And in terms of the audience, the numbers were better, if anything. But I think the technical issues are a different thing again. I think there's a big difference to, you know, I've gone to quite a number of film festivals in my time, particularly since setting this up. And it's, you know, I know that there's never a day goes by, you know, even if you're up in Edinburgh in a cinema on a Sunday morning, something goes wrong. But then you're able to go, oh, I'm afraid I just need to restart the file, which I was able to do over the microphone. But you can see people, you know, we take cups of tea round, and, you know, in a way it kind of gives an opportunity for people to network. And instead you have that kind of, oh dear, I'm going to have to go and find the other file because this file stopped. And oh, we've had more text from people saying for whatever reason they can't hear it properly on the internet, so we have to put the Zoom links in. It's like all these things, if you could practice, well, we do practice, of course, but there's just no substitute for 4 solid days where 2 of those you're just screening films that may only be 1 minute long, and you've got films and films and films and films. But it was much, much more like a physical festival than I was expecting. And I think we got that right. You know, the technical stuff we can work on, like I say, we're the kind of punk underground wartime broadcasters. We're certainly not the BBC at the moment, and don't aspire to be. But there is this very fast community fibre coming in with a big, ultra fast business package because we happen to be very close to Canary Wharf. So it's possible next year, if we take things out of the hands of our providers, we might actually find life a bit easier. I've got loads and loads and loads of notes, and it's given us a way forward, because what we will be doing, not necessarily from next year, because my risk assessment has always been next year is a difficult winter. We might stick to totally digital again. But I think the future is very much, you have a live venue and that projector is screen sharing, and that's going out through open broadcasting software across the internet. And you can have a parallel stream that's dealing with audio description and live captioning, because this year we weren't able to do the live audio description and live captioning. But I realized using the Zoom webinar technology, if we'd got a strong enough stream to be able to run duplicate streams, then we can offer that service again. So I suspect next year it will be another entirely digital service, but with the caption service and the audio description service back and better connectivity. But in the future, yeah, I very much see it as being physical and digital at the same time, because I never want to move away from being able to, you know, as we had, I think on Friday, the Bectu talk came from Wales. Well, what a shame if we couldn't carry on doing that, because again, if you've got the right projection equipment, you can bring people in for events and then stream them out again.
And even down to our participation in Unlocked, we wouldn't be traveling to London 3 days a week to do an hour's show. It just wouldn't be feasible. But yet we're in our 104th show, or 100, oh golly, whatever it is, 100
but who's counting?
Show, you know, and we've been able to do it at the, you know, because of it being digital. And I think that what Julie was saying about the kind of more relaxed perception of what's going on, I think you're right. And I think because a lot of the time it just feels like you're talking to somebody next to you or somebody in front of you, as opposed to being on a stage at the front, you know, in a town hall or wherever it is, where you've got an audience of however many it is. You know, there being not many in the audience, which is equally as nerve-wracking as there being a couple of hundred or a couple of thousand. And actually, you know, so it's kind of almost engendered a much more relaxed approach to it,
Yeah, it's much. I mean, and I think we try and do that deliberately as well, because the one thing that every artist said before the festival was, we don't want to do live events. We don't think we can. And I had to go through a really long process over the summer of saying, as a curator, I just don't see a digital festival being things you can download.
No.
It's just a collection of videos. To me, it's all about being live. And like I said about the festival, my goal, nobody's doing it, but my goal was to have a machine serving things just like the BBC so that every film ran on time, but it wouldn't have been like a live event. So yes, I mean, I think Josh has been incredibly helpful in rehearsing people. We've gone to a lot of trouble to make sure that all of the artists find this a positive experience. Where they won't find it a positive experience, we've done the interviewing separately, we've recorded, so to remove that kind of stress, because we have a safer spaces policy, which is also really important to us, and it has to feel like a nice, comfortable. But I think from the very opening night, where you went in front of your red curtains in your kind of, not exactly dinner jacket, but there you were, the smart front of house person, you feel like you're somewhere live. And when people started joining me on the Zoom because they hadn't got good sound, I felt sorry they hadn't got good sound on YouTube. But finally, I had people in the audience, and instead of, because I always sit behind the screen, because the difficulty of something like a film festival, you've got all sorts of different films in all sorts of different formats made to different standards. You do have files that don't play, you have sound that needs physically adjusting, and ultimately the person in charge is really the best person to project, but you can still know that there are all the people in the audience. You can hear the dog bark occasionally. Or somebody coming in and out. Everything we do is relaxed. So again, we don't sit in silence. So I wouldn't have heard that silence. So once you had people starting coming into the Zoom, I thought, oh, brilliant. It's like people are sitting here in the auditorium. So yes, but I think that relaxed. Yeah, it was really, really important to us.
Yeah.
I think as well, as somebody who has been there every year, it's exhausting. Quite frankly, I don't know how you do it, Ju, because you must be the most exhausted of all of us. But I think one of the things which I've always found frustrating is that when you're invited to go and do a piece for the media, for example, I've been invited into the BBC and other broadcasters who are also available, but it's meant 2 hours traveling for 3 minutes filming, and that it's not sensible. It's not a sensible use of my time, or indeed their funding. I think we have to reach a point of leveling things out where things are sensible as long as they're attainable. But we can't go spending money willy-nilly, so to speak.
Well, it's one of those whole things about the new normal, but regular viewers, or indeed clubs participants, will know we will be launching our very own venue, the David Morris Cultural Centre, and that's always been an ambition, because there are virtually no cultural venues in Newham, and as a result, Newham has the lowest level of cultural engagement in the UK. We're a pop-up festival organisation, so we will continue to pop up. But we do think it's really important that we have what we would consider to be a fully inclusive, accessible arts centre, of which there's certainly not one that I've found fully accessible in London. And the plan has always been that both in the main venue and the studio venue, we would have really state-of-the-art projection screens. Partly because of thinking about the film festival, we're aware that, for example, nearly half of our residents don't speak English at home. So there's a real need for venues where you can have Sunday film clubs and Tuesday night film clubs and things, and you can show Polish films and Albanian films and all of the films that kind of Cineworld with its Bollywood films doesn't cover. But what our digital year is teaching us is that it's much more than that. With those screens, like I say, we'll be able to run a festival that we can simultaneously stream, but we'll also be able to stream guests straight into the festival. on those screens. We'll be able to stream the live performances out to other people, and we'll be able to bring live performances into Newham on the screen. So yeah, I think we're learning so much about this, but the real success, and it has been a huge success, and I know it's been mostly down to this kind of quite small team this year. But again, it's been lovely to see the rest of the team knowing not only that they're getting on with the club's participants and delivering the club's programme in really difficult circumstances, but again, when you see our usual volunteers and the rest of the team on the Zooms, you might not be able to see them physically, but you know we're all still there as the Together family, because this time of year, everybody is always working really hard. And I mean, you've been doing an awful lot too, Julie. Yeah, I mean, certainly as a disabled person, I've never been somebody who could work on conferences or events 24/7. And yeah, 2 or 3 events a week for 5 weeks is quite enough for me. Thank you very much. But it's part of, yeah, I think it's part of any festival, that intensity, isn't it? You know, we put on our events at 7 o'clock. You know, most people might not put them on until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I think we make enough compromises. I mean, one of the discussions over the weekend was the fact that, you know, we're very clear what's a family activity, but everything else is for adults, and those films can be quite adult, because that's what, you know, because that's what people deserve, to be treated as fully adult. Now, I think it's time that well, certainly everybody had a break, but also our live captioner had a break. So for the last time this year, I'm going to put on a short film about our Join In From Home programme. Some of that is now out of date. We will be revamping all of this in January, but there's still some really good ideas about what to do over the coming weeks. So for the last time in 2020, here is a video from earlier in the year about our Join In From Home programme. Together 2012 is running a Join In From Home programme from our website, together2012.org.uk. Click on the link at the top of the page, Join In From Home, to go straight to the main page, where you have a wide range of accessible, inclusive creative activities, mostly using things that you would already have at home. At the top of the page and throughout the pages, you will also see videos in British Sign Language to translate the site for deaf people. These videos can also be useful if you have difficulties reading and you simply want to hear more of the content. The Join In From Home programme is based on the activities that we would usually be running in East London. Dance Club usually meets on the fourth Monday of each month, and they create improvised masked dance for the screen. Here you can also see their very first film, where they simply made masks from paper plates, covered themselves with fabric, and just moved gently to the music. You can hear as well, there's an improvised soundtrack. So we're suggesting that you make a mask out of anything you can think of. It could be a cardboard box, a paper bag, a paper plate, as in here. Video yourself dancing in it and then share the video with us. We will show it on screen, and we will also enter it into the dance programme of our film festival, which we run every December. If you're temporarily or permanently chair-based, there's also a warm-up you can do here, created by our associate wheelchair dance company Folk in Motion, and that focuses on relaxing your upper body and improving your breathing. The Photographers and Filmmakers Club usually meets on the second Monday of each month. We're inviting you to make a video at home with the theme of home and share it with us. You can use a phone or a camera, make any kind of film you wish, including drama, documentary, dance, animation, artist films, comedy, and they'll be eligible for a CAT award at our December Film Festival. You can also watch with us from home. In addition to Together 2012 TV with Together Unlocked and other live streams, we have the Together Disability Film Festival highlights. Each year we run the International Together Disability Film Festival in Stratford, bringing together a wide range of films by disabled filmmakers, as well as films about disability issues and disabled people. We always publish the programmes online with links to the films that are freely available. So we invite you to revisit our recent film festivals from the comfort of your own home, and also to send us reviews of those films. And finally, you can sit back, relax, and enjoy videos of past live performances, artist talks, and creative workshops that we've produced in the past here. So, for example, from past festivals, we have documentation and films of creative dance workshops, street art performances, dances that the dance club have created, dance performances, and of course, we're continuing to add new activities on a regular basis. And I'm just going to pop up a message that we've had. This is from Brooke. Thank you, Ju, and the rest of the Together team for all of your hard work in putting the festival together. I suspect playing the video has messed up our data, so now I'm going to hand over to Robin and Josh.
Well, so it is up to us. The awesome twosome. That'll do. And
half of the awesome foursome better, but
well, yeah, but you know,
We'll just get on with it.
oh, where were we? So yes, let's talk about what's coming this week. So the festival, whilst has been on for 4 weeks, still has 2 amazing events left to run, as well as all the stuff that is already online that's gone before us, and the exhibitions, of course. So tomorrow evening, and that's Tuesday the 8th at 7 o'clock, we have the Story of Sound.
sound of the story.
Oh yeah. Well,
Slight change in wording, but given the content of the event, very important.
Get closer to the mic.
no, you turn it. It's okay.
I'd turned it off so that when I had to rapidly run to the toilet during the video, it didn't make lots of noise. Yeah,
Anyway.
it's the sound of the story, and it's an event around kind of Foley and sound effects in kind of theatre and film, which, yeah, as Robin said, that's tomorrow evening, and I'm really kind of excited and looking forward to it. Some of the kind of guests and people that are making up that kind of panel have kind of got really impressive experience in the industry. And we talked about it a little bit, but I'm a bit of a kind of nerd for all that kind of behind the scenes stuff and special effects and sound effects and things like that. So I'm really excited to be able to kind of hopefully sit back and listen. Hopefully my technical workload won't be too high, and I'll be able to just kind of take in the chat. But they're also looking specifically at how that sound can be helpful for people that are blind or visually impaired, and kind of the much more significant role that sound plays for those people enjoying films. On top of the already kind of huge importance and significance of sound, anyway, that we've already talked about. And then on Thursday.
And Thursday, yes, we have the end of festival party, and I got those words the right way round. And you can, in fact, use the Together website, the festival website, if you wish to book tickets to come to the end of festival party. Always a great event. I have managed to make quite a few of these over the last 7 or 8 years, and they're just really, really good fun. And I hope that we are able to bring that kind of feeling of euphoria and enjoyment and collective response through the Zoom. Normally we're eating mince pies and gummy bears and singing whatever songs people want usually. You know, Christmas carols, Beatles, whatever it is, as long as one of us can play it, then we get on with it. And I think so that will be happening, and there's an open mic portion. Well, it's mostly open mic, to be honest. But within that, we're going to talk about poet.
Yeah, it's the poetry anthology launch.
Sorry, that's just what I was actually get to. Is the launch of the Together 2012 Poetry Anthology. So we've been receiving poems for well, you know, since the beginning of lockdown, and perhaps even slightly before that. Mainly on the topic of the idea of together and what that means to you as a poet writer, and the editorial team, of which I'm going to guess is Julie and Jew, or just Jew, okay, have spent many an hour enjoying the huge variety of poetry that will have been sent in, and then a long list of poems will have been put into the anthology, which is released officially on Thursday. And if you are lucky enough to have been included in the anthology, you will, when the post allows, receive a copy of the book.
And otherwise, you'll be able to get it on Kindle from Friday.
Yes. Now we're just going to double check the host chat to see.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. So I can't see it from here. So we have messages that come up on our screen just for those, and it's a bit like at the, you know, auto cue that they used to have, except it's
not automatic.
Not a bit like it.
Yeah. Or don't forget that all the events, if you don't want to join in on the Zoom, you can see everything on the YouTube link that's part of the festival and part of Together. And I'm forgetting all my technical stuff today.
Yeah, there is a YouTube stream embedded at the top of the festival page on the Together website, and it will also just be on YouTube, on Together 2012's YouTube channel. That will have captions on it, but it won't have BSL interpretation. If you do need BSL interpretation, then that is only available through the Zoom and on a laptop through Zoom as well. The feature that we use to multi-spotlight isn't supported on mobile devices at the moment, unfortunately. So if you do need that, it will be on Zoom. On a computer, if you don't have access to that, then it will be kind of edited into the recording that goes out kind of as soon as possible, kind of the next day, and that'll all go up on the festival website to be able to watch that back if you do need that additional support and can't access it live. Now, I'm just checking, do we have an R1 meditation video today?
No, today we're going to relax with the surgeoners.
Okay. Well, you know, that's kind of handy, really. I mean, I think, you know, we've talked a lot about the festival now, and as obviously he has far more technicalness than me, and but you know, we've all been working hard in our own ways, and one of the things that Josh and I have kind of both independently come across over the last week are ways of relaxing at home together or on your own, really. Normally on a Friday we do something for the weekend, and with our technical complications, we just didn't get time to put that in. And so one of the things that I was going to put up, and hopefully I've still got the link, so we can put that on afterwards, is I've been using through Alexa a guided meditation presentation, which has been, I found, really, really useful in actually getting into a much better level of sleep than I normally get, and which kind of, in terms of then wondering how I can share that with other people, went onto YouTube, and there is a whole host of kind of guided meditation videos on YouTube. I'm not going to recommend any particular one, because I think it's the kind of area that you've got to, you know, it's a kind of, you know, taste and see if you like it kind of thing, you know, because what you know, what is good for somebody else might really, really annoy a different viewer or listener. I know that from things that Tracy likes listening to classical music from one of those devices, I shouldn't say, and that annoys the pants off me. So there you go. And then so over to Josh. What did you find?
Yeah, so I'll name the app. I think it's called Deep Relax with Andrew Johnson. There's a whole kind of series of apps. It's an app that I've had for years, like I think 10 years probably at this point. I think it cost $2.99, but again, it was that long ago that I brought it. I genuinely don't remember. And it was one that I brought back when I was an athlete and having to stay in some truly terrible accommodation for various things, to just kind of put some headphones in, and he's a guy with a kind of Scottish accent that takes you through this kind of relaxation, and you can set it to wake you up at the end or different things, to kind of relax you. And then I always had it set to sleep, and I think it's about 10 minutes. I can only confirm that based on how long it tells me it is. I don't think I've ever heard the whole thing. So at some point I'll have to listen to it like when I'm at the gym, so I can find out what actually happens at the end, because I've never found out, because it always knocks me out before I get to that point. And then there's loads of stuff on YouTube, and I've been investigating another app that's more kind of meditation focused and kind of breathing focused, as opposed to a put you to sleep one. But I haven't used it enough to kind of give any recommendations on it. But the Andrew Johnson app that I've had for years, I love. And it's stuff that I've done, and kind of working with psychologists as an athlete and a coach as well. It's similar to the things that we get the kids to go through around kind of mindfulness and focus and relaxing. And it's really simple stuff about just kind of focusing. But it's great. I mean, we've run it at kind of coaching clinics, and they always plan it for just after lunch, which is unfair, because the coaches then will have to try really hard not to fall asleep. But we have had a couple of times the kids have fallen asleep in the sessions. It does work. But it's good fun.
I was going to say, just to close on it, what Josh was saying about sporting things, there is this correct euphoria about being selected for sports events, representing your country. They just tend to forget out that you end up sleeping in school classrooms and many other similar places with railway tracks running part. Like if there wasn't a window there, they'd be in the same room as you, and all kinds of stuff like that. So the luxuries are not always quite as apparent.
Yeah, I've had some luxury, very nice hotel with a balcony in the sun, and I've also slept on the floor because I couldn't afford an extra room. So I had to bunk on the floor in a sleeping bag with the two senior coaches. So you do get the both ends of the spectrum with elite sport. Just
to close on today, really, is to say goodbye. But before that, just to say that we are here Wednesday still this week, and Friday, of course. Just can we have a thumb up? Have we got any sort of poetry stuff coming up Wednesday as usual? Something along?
It's not a usual week, so you'll have to wait and see.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, so it's goodbye and flag up Wednesday. Wednesday's happening. Okay. Unless there's something we really don't know. Wednesday is the day after tomorrow, and we'll be here.
Clockwork Paralympic Santas. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Right. That's it. Clockwork Paralympic Santas. We're going to have to stop.
Look forward to it.
Yeah. Okay. So without further ado, let's just say thanks for holding on there in London with your dodgy sound. And we'll say goodbye from the West Midlands, and we'll see you Wednesday.